News has learned former Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall was involved with the so-called Freedom Convoy protests. CTV's senior political correspondent Glenn McGregor joins me now with more. Glenn, what have you learned in your investigation?
Yeah, there are several cases before the criminal courts here in Ottawa involving organizers of those protests that essentially gridlocked the city for over 3 weeks in January and February. These cases are kind of working their way through the courts, and in that process, the Crown prosecutors are filing evidence. Some of the evidence they filed against an organizer named Chris Barber, who's been charged with mischief, intimidation, obstructing police. He's currently out on bail in Saskatchewan. He's one of the more visible faces of the protest, one of the first people to be arrested after the federal government invoked the Emergencies Act. Now, police went through his cell phone when he was arrested, extracted all the text messages, all the phone calls. And surprisingly, we found out here at CTV that those records show he was in contact for several weeks with Brad Wall, the former Premier of Saskatchewan. Mr. Barber is from Saskatchewan. Mr. Wall told us that he has relatives who are friends of him, and it was in that context that they spoke. But those records show that Mr. Wall was giving advice to Mr. Barber on managing kind of the communications of the Freedom Convoy, suggesting that they try and distance themselves from people like Pat King, who have expressed some extreme opinions, also suggested ways they could possibly wrap this up and claim victory. He said the organizers should consider claiming victory over the fact that Saskatchewan and Ontario in early February began to rescind some of their COVID mandates, or at least plan to rescind them, and that would be a good way for kind of the convoy to take a win here on this and pull out. So some back and forth. We counted 26 text messages back and forth between them, 4 phone calls, some lasting as long as 12 minutes. So it wasn't just kind of a casual, hey, how are you? There was obviously some back and forth between Chris Barber, who is, according to police, had broken the law repeatedly at these convoys, and somebody who was, at one time, one of the most powerful conservative politicians in the country.
Yeah.